Hi, everybody. My name's Wilvina, and I'm an addict. Uh, First things first, I want to just say what a tremendous job my fellow presenters and co-hosts have done in this event. It was an amazing effort to create the video of the history and so forth, and also to talk about the emerging communities around the world. So just a little bit about me. I'm from New York City. I grew up in Manhattan. I live in Brooklyn. I have 17 years, 7 months, and about 20 days clean. I'm the daughter of a closeted gay man who was murdered as a result of a cruising episode. He was stabbed over 90 times. I have an LGBT son who's out and proud. And for everyone that is, sheltering in place, we're going to miss Pride this year. It's definitely a tragedy in my book. But at this particular event, I first want to introduce, I have 4 people on the panel. What's going to happen is we're going to talk about a series of themes currently that impact the LGBT community. My panel is a diverse group of members. They're diverse in clean time, ethnicity, and identity. And I'm going to introduce them each to you. I have a PowerPoint that I'll be going back and forth with. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about public relations. I sponsor several gay men and a trans person, and I do public relations, which brings the NA message into the community. And specifically in New York City, we've done public information to the ballroom community. So I have a few slides about that. I have a little clip of ballroom at the event that we've done. So let me just start. I'm going to just show you who is on the panel. I'm going to give you a little bit of their bio in the clips, and then we're going to get right to the questions. So first, I'm just going to introduce them on the screen. Up here first, you've already heard her read one of the cards. Edna, who is, she is a long-time clean out person. She's going to talk a little bit about herself, but she's done years of service, and most recently she was the chairperson of the Boston Convention in Narcotics Anonymous. You want to just say hi before I go on to the rest of the people on the panel?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for everybody who put this on as well.
Okay, next I want to introduce to you David M. He also has years of experience in Narcotics Anonymous. I'm having a little trouble unmuting. Okay. David is actually a person who is on the Greater New York Regional Board of Directors. He actually is the progenitor, and he is the creator of the Unity Subcommittee of Manhattan area, which had the first LGBT Convention Committee, and also it's a permanent LGBT subcommittee of the Manhattan area in New York. So you want to just say hi for a second, David, before I introduce everybody else?
Hi, everybody. I'm so grateful to be here. And Wilvina, you look beautiful today.
Thank you so much. I had to get dragged out.
It's nice meeting everybody. Hi,
Yes.
everybody. Stay safe.
Okay, next I want to introduce Dean C. from London. Dean has 18 years clean. Dean is also a former convention chair of the London Convention, and also recently the virtual London Convention. He also has done, he's bi-coastal. He actually has a business in New York, and he also has done H&I panel leader service in New York. So I want to just give him a chance to say hello. I can't unmute. Okay, go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name's Dean. I'm an addict. Great to see you all. Yes, Wilbina, I love the eyeshadow. It looks fabulous.
Yes, thank you. Next, I'm going to introduce Dudley. Dudley is from New York City. He also chairs and has chaired the LGBT Sunday afternoon meeting at the center in Manhattan. He attends regular meetings. He's got 3 years clean, and he also is going to be on our panel talking about that experience. Can you say hi, Dudley?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dudley. I'm an addict. This has been an amazing talk. It's been incredible. I'm
Yes.
so happy to be here. Thank you, Wilfina.
Yeah, okay. And then I want to introduce to you now Jordan. Jordan has also done a lot of service. Jordan recently celebrated his first miracle year in Narcotics Anonymous, but has done archive services, also has some experiences chairing face-to-face and virtual meetings in Narcotics Anonymous. So I want to just give Jordan a chance to say hello. I can't, okay, go ahead.
Hi, how's it going? Nice to see you all.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna start sharing my screen here. I'm gonna have to switch to the presentation format. Okay, so this part of the presentation is going to be taking a look at current themes in the LGBT community. I just introduced to you our panel. And these are the areas that we're going to talk a little bit about. The first one is meeting attendance. Now, I was introduced to what they called special interest meetings here in Narcotics Anonymous. So that also includes women's meetings, men's meetings, LGBT meetings, and so forth. And then we're going to talk about kind of the transition between special interest to mainstream meetings as an out gay person. The other issue that we're going to talk about is, you know, in Narcotics Anonymous, we're going to talk about also the idea of moving from scapegoat to spokesperson in meetings currently, you know, from whether or not the meetings are considered a safe space to whether or not you know, people are leaders in the community. And I really feel like the people on the panel kind of represent, you know, leaders and being powers of example. Also, in some cases, you know, it's okay to be the mascot gay person, but really kind of moving from just being like the mascot that people, you know, are accepting to being kind of the maverick person. That, you know, a maverick is someone who's considered unorthodox, independent, and, you know, strong-minded. So we're also going to talk a little bit about getting and finding a sponsor, and they all have different experiences with that. And then also, you know, one of the challenges really, I think, that are impacting people coming into our fellowship currently is the challenges of multiple fellowship entry. You know, many people that are coming in currently, especially young people, they're in multiple fellowships, and really the challenge between and how we can start attracting LGBT members to the substance-specific message of addiction in Narcotics Anonymous and what that means. And then finally, we're going to just take a look at informing the public of NA's message and presence in the LGBT community. So let me just stop my screen share for the moment, and let me call on David first, David M. So David, we had a lot of talk about your experiences in New York City. Can you just tell us a little bit about what that was like coming in to the NA program, finding a sponsor? Oh, wait, you're muted. Hold on. Okay.
Okay, I think we're good now.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, everybody, again. thank you so much for this wonderful program. Before I answer the question, it's what we needed. It's what the doctor ordered, us getting together from all around the country and coming here and discussing our common needs is really heartfelt. And I want to thank the trusted servants and you for putting this fabulous, needed program together. I got clean in 1990 in December, and I got here a little frightened, little gay boy. And thank God that there was a special interest meeting, because I don't think that I would have stayed if I didn't see the identification. So I remember there was a men's gay meeting called Choices up in Harlem in New York, where I'm from. And I went there, and my God, it was transforming. My life changed. I saw myself, I saw me. And I remember a guy just talking about how different he felt, how he felt he was an Indian without a tribe. And it was that heartfelt share that made me approach him, and he sponsored me for the next 18 years. So I was really blessed to have that identification when I walked through the door.
Okay. All right. Let me jump over to Edna, just to kind of ask Edna about her experiences coming in, finding a sponsor, and your meeting experience when you came in.
I am so sorry, guys. I'm at my office and
That's okay.
our IT guy just walked in and started being noisy. Okay, I'm an addict. My name's Edna. Well, Vina, you asked me to introduce myself. I have 11/27/96 is my clean date. And my first time coming into Narcotics Anonymous sometime around 1983. We're talking about sponsorship. I was very unclear which direction to take, and I have always been very clear about my sexuality, so that was not a problem. My problem was that every time I came into recovery, if I got with a woman in treatment, then I would use, and I couldn't focus on my recovery. So I was dead set on getting a male sponsor, because I figured then there's no way that I'm going to get involved. So I was very distracted. Anyway, fast forward, when I came back in 11/27/96, I was not comfortable with dealing with a man at that point. I did get a female sponsor, and I made sure that I got somebody that I had absolutely no sexual attraction toward. And that was imperative for me. On the reverse side, I've had women who asked me to sponsor them, and I told them I couldn't sponsor them because I'd rather sleep with them. So I had to be very honest in my intent. I had to be honest, because I couldn't, even though I could still sponsor them and look beyond that, I just felt like that attraction would get in the way, and it would be very unfair and very hypocritical.
Yeah, those boundaries are so important, and actually those issues kind of cut across all of Narcotics Anonymous. So I'm going to come back to you. Let me go to Dean right now. And Dean, let me ask you about your experience with meetings. We were talking and you were explaining to me, you've been clean a long time, but you don't necessarily attend, mainstream meetings, but tell us your experience with, sponsorship, the meetings, and so forth as far as that.
Thanks, Alvina. Hi, everyone. I'm Dean. I'm an addict. Hello. It's great to be here. And thanks for asking me to join this panel. My experience, well, I mean, it was kind of hit and miss for me at the beginning. When I approached my first sponsor, he was someone who I'd known in the past that I'd got clean. He'd had like maybe 4 or 6 years clean, and I knew him from from the old days. and he kind of betrayed my trust. And very early days, it's quite easy to think, oh, these bunch of people in NA, I don't want to be with them, they can't trust them. But but the desire to get clean and the desire to work was just there. So I knew to just ask someone else. I knew that I couldn't tar everyone with the same brush. And then I went to I should actually say my very first meeting I went to in Narcotics Anonymous, I absolutely hated the people that in the room, but I actually loved the chair. And I knew someone said, if you didn't like this meeting, go to another meeting. So I went to...
Oh, Dean, let me just clarify. You meant the share, because here in the United States,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
the chair
I
is
should know
like
better.
the
Sorry. The person speaking.
Just to clarify.
Sorry. Thanks, Marina. I feel like I should have subtitles or something underneath. Anyway, so basically, so I went to my second meeting, and I immediately felt welcomed, and it was just an amazing meeting. And even today, it's like my kind of like home meeting. And it was the Friday night gay meeting in London in Covent Garden, and it was amazing because it was kind of my first experience with a bunch of clean queens, and it was absolutely fantastic. And then I realized, that I needed to find a new sponsor, and I just kept, just sort of going to the meetings. And then my first sponsor, she has actually sponsored me until recently. She was a lesbian woman with she must be I think 28 years clean now. And, it changed my life. And, I wouldn't necessarily have thought about going, to a lesbian, sponsee, but just like what was written, what I saw earlier, I felt comfortable, and I kind of knew that I wasn't going to have a relationship, or I was going to put her in that bracket. So it kind of worked for me, and then and now, because I'm sort of bi-coastal and I travel back and forward, I've got a sponsor in New York, as a straight woman, and and that sort of works for me as well. So I just kind of feel I've just kind of gone with the go with the flow, and that's sort of what's led me to here.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm gonna come back to you. I wanna go to Dudley right now, because Dudley and I were talking about his sponsorship process and coming to NA, and then some of the same issues about attraction that some of that was mentioned before, that can be challenges in the LGBT meetings. So Dudley, can you talk about that process for you?
I will. Hi everyone. I'm Dudley. I'm an addict. I have 3.5 years clean. I got thank you. And I first got clean in rural Pennsylvania, rural, rolling fields, roosters in the morning, people out hunting, and it was a great experience. I was in rehab there. I spent my first 30 days there. I lived in New York at the time, and I was shipped out there. And so I just, after that first rehab stint, I decided to do another treatment, just because I didn't trust myself to be out in the world yet. And so in the second treatment center I was in, they had this level system. So they give you progressively more freedom to go to meetings independently, and you have to find a temporary sponsor. So it was in that second month of recovery where I was going to meetings by myself and needing to level up in this program that I asked someone to be my first temporary sponsor. And I just happened to have 2 straight male sponsors. And I think what was more important to me was that I had a Black sponsor. I think more of my issues were because at that point I was pretty secure in my sexuality, and I knew just off the bat in my own head that I didn't want to be sponsored by someone that I wanted to sleep with, just because I just knew that it was going to complicate everything. And and so I guess like having someone who's straight kind of like automatically makes me unattracted to them in a way. And so that's what I choose. I wanted to choose a straight male sponsor for that reason, and someone who was Black, and I can talk about like being Black with, because I think like that was what plagues me more, like I guess navigating that that dynamic in my life was what like led my decisions in choosing someone. And the first, like in rural Pennsylvania, like they would take us to like AA meetings, which was fine, but they weren't very diverse, and I was afraid honestly to open up. There was this very like I didn't see anyone like sashay into the room. Like, let's just say that. Like I was there, like, you know, I'm like, let me just listen. And that was like for the first month. And then and like after I got out of treatment and was able to like, you know, start exploring on my own with meetings, like I was lucky enough to find, you know, people here and there who identified on the LGBTQ plus spectrum that I, you know, gathered as friends. But at first no one was really, I didn't get a sense that anyone was really trying to hit on me or like trying to like come at me or 13th step me.
Well, here's like what's really distinct. I remember in our conversation, you said to me, you needed a sponsor that knew the steps.
Yeah.
I know who your sponsor is. That person has like, I
Yeah.
guess, close to 30 years clean, if not more than 30 years.
Yeah.
Right. And that person absolutely knows step work. And you told me this is a matter of your life. Like this is life and death, and you were not trying to play.
Absolutely. And that, in choosing someone, yes, like that was a major requirement, because I was there to save my life. But in working the steps, and I needed someone who have worked all the steps and traditions. I needed someone who also identified with my Blackness, like to a large extent. So I agree that like we had discussed that, and those were like major criteria in my head.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So I want to just hit very quickly Jordan in this same respect. Jordan, just very quickly, I want to Jordan just celebrated his first miracle year. He identifies as he and they, and I'm just going to let you talk a little bit about your experiences finding, you know, a sponsor and the NA program with the challenges of multiple programs, fellowships.
Yeah, I'm in 3 different fellowships. And I kind of came over from a pretty much because of a lot of what Dudley was talking about. Being Black and trans in AA was really stressing me out, and I was really like bored with kind of some of the things that I guess people have mentioned and can imagine. And so I came to NA because I had heard that there were like really great parties. And so I came, and at these parties, I was like watching people holding hands that were like gay and like nonsense like that. And I was like, okay, this is kind of like, I was like, I want to stay, you know. But then when I went to my home group too, it had taken me a really long time in AA to find a sponsor that would sponsor me because I was trans. Like I was getting dropped like by person after person after person. In NA, it has been really significantly different. It was not an issue like in my home group, which is a predominantly Black home group and like mostly older folks. It wasn't, people weren't upset about it or anything. The thing is that people have a hard time. I think it's just more that people have a hard time like seeing me in whatever way and like using my pronouns. I think that's the more pressing thing, and that's true across both of my substance related programs. Not so much in Al-Anon because, you know, they're always eager to please. But so that's my answer, I guess, to that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. So the last portion, I want to talk a little bit about service. You know, the three of the people on my panel are, you know, serious service leaders in Narcotics Anonymous, and then I'm going to just end with the PR outreach to the ballroom community in New York. I have some slides. You know, one of my sponsees walks ball for LaBeija. Anyone that knows the House of LaBeija will know that. So anyway, I'm going to just show some of those slides, and I'm gonna divide up the last portion of the time. I'm gonna go back to David first, and I'm gonna just have him talk about service in Narcotics Anonymous and his experience very briefly with the Unity Subcommittee, and also being on the board of directors for the Greater New York region and that experience.
Okay. I mean, are we going to go to the slide first, or do you want to?
No, let's do you
Oh.
first, because I'll do the slides after. The slides are PR after, so I'm going to just keep going with the panel.
Got you. You know, we started Unity. Unity is a standing committee of Manhattan area, and it's a G&L committee. We wanted to be visible in our area on the service structure. And I got there in 1990, and I wish I could take credit for starting Unity, but Unity actually was formed in 1986. And we would hold a Unity Day. We didn't have enough support to have a convention. So we would have a Unity Day, and at that Unity Day, we designed workshops, and we ended the day with a dance and fellowship and food. But what happened was, you know, when I came about, people wanted to see something different on a larger scale. And I said, well, why don't we have a convention? You know, let's do our first G&L convention in New York. And we were met with where we're going to get the money, area's not going to give us anything. And they were right. Area passed on it. And we decided to hold some fundraisers to get the money started for the down payment of our first convention at the hotel. So we gave a ball. We gave a gay ball, and we raised over $5,000. And we gave, you know, we gave other activities. And what happened was we were so eager to make our dream happen that we put all of our heart into these fundraisers. And they were so good. They were so innovative. And I like to say on record that Unity was the first committee to do the Speaker Jam format. We created the Speaker Jam format in 1994. And the Speaker Jam format is now worldwide. So we can take credit for that. That little bunch of queens and lesbians started the Speaker Jam. So with that said, so now we want to sit at the table with the big boys. We were tired of being a subcommittee. We were tired of giving our reports to an activities committee so they can read out our stuff for us. So we got in front of the area and we asked to be seated as a standing committee, along with the P&I standing committee, along with the H&I, and we were met with such laughter and ridicule, and people would chuckle at the reports. And finally, with persistence, we were voted into policy to be the first gay and lesbian standing committee for Manhattan area. So that was a real big feat, one that I'm very proud of. You know, I have so much to say about the beginning and so much to say about what the special interest meetings meant to me. There was a time in my recovery when I was talking about members of the same sex as my partners. I couldn't refer to them as he. I would say them or it. And it was because I didn't have the value of my life. I felt different. And the special interest meetings gave me an opportunity to get some value in my life, knowing that I wasn't here by accident, knowing that I was here
You
purpose.
also mentioned to me that that was actually instrumental in you finding an NA sponsor in those meetings.
Yes.
So I know that for people that maybe have moved on to mainstream meetings, you know, the people that are coming in here that need to really, that are afraid and have questions, you know, you mentioned to me it was instrumental in you finding a sponsor initially.
Yes, yes, that was very, I don't think I would have met someone if I didn't hear the identification and the love and empathy that I got from my gay male sponsor. But just let me say, it wasn't always peaches and cream. I didn't just do GNL meetings. I made regular NA meetings, and it was at those regular NA meetings that made me fearful. There were members that would share from the floor that their bottom was being with another man, or that their bottom was selling themselves short for the next hit. And sitting there as a gay man and listening to that kind of share made me relive the horrors of active addiction, made me relive the nightmares of not being loved and not being wanted and not feeling appreciated. I'm nobody's bottom. But I had to practice the principles of patience and tolerance, and I had to remind myself that I belonged there and that they were not going to send me out of the room. And I persevered and I stuck through it. And the level of tolerance has improved greatly. So.
Right, and so you did also tell me that also part of the reason that you do your service commitments is about standing in your truth and letting everyone know the competency, the highly effective, network, that LGBT people that do service, and I'm going to go to Eddie, because when I had a conversation with Eddie about that kind of service, we were talking about, how very, I'll just say it, like aggressive butch lesbians can seem in the service setting. So can you just talk about, you chaired a convention, and actually some of your conversation with me about that convention chairing was really instrumental, I think, in service.
Yeah, thanks, Willie. Thanks, David. Wow, you brought me way back, Dee. I remember those times. It's been so long since I'm 63, 23 plus years clean, not my first time here. And I need to say that, God put me in position, and I was not, I'm in the inner city, Boston area. I've sometimes the only one or one of two white people that are serving on that level, on the convention level. So perhaps the complete antithesis of some of my fellow members that just spoke. It's just as uncomfortable, but because I serve God first and then myself, oxygen, then the child, and Narcotics Anonymous, and my passion for Narcotics Anonymous does not allow me to take anything personally, particularly when it comes to service. So what happens is, how do you get nominated when you're dealing with a clique and you're an outsider? How do you not bring your own posse to even want to serve, so they give you the opportunity? Okay. And I preface the conversation with that just to paint my picture. So because I was taught, if I had a home group, I never had to be homeless again, I started serving on a grassroots level. And then I moved over, segued, of course, to area, and then tried to take, RCM position, then went into the convention level. Because I thought it'd be fun, let's face it. And there wasn't anybody that looked like me that was, convention chair. There was, the usual suspects, if you will, no pun intended. And I became vice chair. And when it came time for me, after 2 years, we put on our convention, and it was time to stand up and be chair, because I was groomed to be chair as vice chair. And I didn't get
David was also vice chair for the Greater New York Region Convention Committee. So I think he can identify with that as well.
Vice chair does everything. Chair does very little. Okay, not to step on any toes, and I hope I'm not offending anyone. The vice chair, I hung the banners. I did everything. So I was a natural segue to the convention chair. And when it came time for elections, I did not stand up. I did not, because if my sponsor told me, if it's more harmful and it's not spiritual, then why am I serving on that level? Find another platform. And Wilvina brought me into this platform, yay. But as convention chair, I was, not because, I identify as a dyke, not because I'm aggressive, more aggressive than assertive. I just want to say for myself, I'm Jewish. Passive aggressive is in our DNA. I'll announce that, and I'm well aware of it. But I tried to serve to the best of my ability, and I was met with a lot of opposition, and I really was not. I really didn't have any difficulty because how I identify myself. People take great offense to the word dyke. And the word dyke came from my best friend from England who lived with me 1974, 75, 76, 77. She called herself a dyke. And I said, that makes sense to me. I like that. She said, in England, that's what we do. I said, okay.
Well, on that note, I'm going to ask the former London Convention chair, especially after you just said they don't do anything. Let me just hear your experiences there. The London Convention, I've been to two of them. They are phenomenal events.
Before we go on, if I can just jump in quickly, Wilvina, you've got about 10 minutes, so just
okay. We're on track. Thank you.
I'll be very quick. Thank you to everyone else that spoke. And yeah, David, you're a legend, and it's lovely to hear you. So my experience, well, I've got to say, I was in England, maybe. I just want to say this with a loving heart, but in England, we're not really so much segregated as it is in New York. And I can say that because I've lived in New York and I've been to meetings there, and the fellowship is very segregated. It's like I can only say that from my experience and from what I see. But in London, I've been lucky enough that it's never really become a thing. You have to get nominated, you have to put yourself forward, and you get voted in. And I think if you're willing, that's only been allowed because of our predecessors lining it up that way. And today I've learned something, that I can actually put my hand up and put myself forward for something like at that kind of level, being the chair. I've been the chair of the ASC, I've done the secretary of the ASC, FNE, you name it, I've done those.
H&I panel leader here in New York.
Yeah, and and it's just because I'm just willing, and I actually maybe take it for granted that I don't have people like saying anything or sniggering. I've not had to deal with that, and I take my hat off to you guys, for making that possible, and it does spread through. But generally though, it's just like taking any other commitment. And I think it's funny how we like to be the first. I think when I remember when I did the London Convention, I think definitely I can say we were the first to actually start with music. We played the Soul to Soul, Back to Life, and everyone was dancing. That
great album.
That we were playing that because that was the theme of our convention, was Back to Life. And and I was like, well, I want to play that snippet. And and then next thing we had the whole London Convention dancing to that. And and that was a beautiful moment, and I don't think that moment was created just because of me. It's created, it was God, you know what I mean? I couldn't plan that happening, and then recently just doing the virtual the virtual meeting on the 9th of May. Again, I feel when we do commitments at that level, we learn a lot. We learn how to deal with people. We learn how to deal with, difficult people. And
also step work. When we were talking, you said to me, Wilvina, I couldn't do any of this if I didn't have a strong step work grounding. You mentioned that you've been through the steps several times. I think you actually mentioned to me that, you're on a different type of 4th step inventory, but you've done a bunch of different levels of step work. And so that was service, I think you mentioned is extremely important.
Well, yeah, it is because, you know, we come into the fellowship and we do this because we have to change, or we have to learn to do things differently, and you know, and the tools are there, and then actually we learn to do what we want to do because we have these tools, and these tools have been introduced to us. So definitely it's only possible because, you know, of doing the work, listening to my predecessors, and just, as Edna said, you know, putting God first, you know, and that's what I think is very key here.
So let me just take 2 last minutes with Dudley before I go back to the PowerPoint, because Dudley and I had a conversation about, you know, allies and bringing straight allies speaking at the LGBT meeting, and that, you know, just like in the Black community, we have our own levels of disagreements, but also in the LGBT community. Can you talk a little bit about that experience chairing that meeting and what happened in that event?
Sure. So I've had the pleasure and the honor of like chairing multiple LGBT meetings, one at the New York City Gay Men's Health Coalition in Midtown, and also the Serenity Sunday meeting at the LGBT Center on 13th Street. And in both of those meetings, like, as if anyone has chaired a meeting, has experience in when you're tasked with choosing speakers week after week, in addition to carrying on with your everyday life, your job, your school, whatever, it's an added, like, it's a added job of making, you know, planning week after week your speakers. So I would prioritize people who identify on the LGBTQ plus spectrum. And there were weeks, there were months when, you know, I would have just heard an amazing straight identifying speaker, and I'd want to invite them to the meeting. And during those times I'd invite them, they would share a clear NA message, you know, one can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live, and, you know, share their experience. And I would either like hear a slight like animosity toned shares from the, yeah,
Shade.
yeah, basically shade from the floor. Like, you know, when sharing would be open, it's like people are like, well, you know, this is a special interest meeting, like in front of the speaker during the meeting, or afterward, people would either approach me about reiterating that, you know, we would prefer to have like LGBTQ speakers, and most recently, a friend of mine who identifies as straight shared at an LGBT meeting. I ran into him, and he said that someone came up after him, someone with decades clean, and asked him to like come and share, like, you know, reminding him that it was an LGBT meeting and making him feel like he shouldn't have shared. And I think that all of these are, it kind of goes against the progress we're making, and, you know, fostering allyship from those who are straight identifying. And it kind of is people's individual like diseases running amok. It's like, it's kind of an example of like a fixing, managing, and controlling of a space. You know, one doesn't have to be talking about gay sex to share a clear and a message. Like, I don't need to be talking about anal sex in my share to give someone hope that they can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. And it's been points of disappointment, especially from older, like old timers who feel like they've been, and no shade to old timers, honestly, but it's been mainly from them that I've heard this pushback. And I understand people have trauma that they're working through, but we have to not perpetuate even more trauma in our community in working through our own personal trauma. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
All right, I've got it. I'm on my timer, Lewis. So I'm gonna just share the last portion of my PowerPoint, and then I have a little video. So doing public relations in New York City, for anybody that is unaware of the ballroom community and what that is, ballroom culture created voguing. Ball culture, David referred to it a little bit, giving a ball. It actually originated in the 1920s. People walk for trophies, they get prizes. You know, there's actually some mainstream shows about it right now. But these flyers, I was first invited. I have a sponsor that walks for the House of LaBeija, and he invited me to attend because methamphetamine is a major issue in the ballroom community. And this particular flyer, meth and COVID-19, this is before the lockdown. This is actually the lockdown flyer where they did 2 virtual events. But the first event that I'm going to show you some slides, We Care Ballroom Voices of NA, they had their own panel. So what we were able to, oops, I'm sorry, I just stopped my screen share by accident. I guess I got too excited. Hold on. Wait a minute. So I'm trying to advance my screen. I'm not doing it. Okay, so this is the event, the first event that we attended. They had multiple providers there. Canberra, they had some harm reduction there. There's a panel here, and at this panel, these were people talking specifically about recovering from meth addiction, and they were also judging a ball there. So this was the Narcotics Anonymous table with our literature, our meeting lists. This is our banner. This is one of the LaBeijas here. And this particular event, let me just, before I share this last slide, I'm going to just show you a little, like 40 seconds of the ballroom. I have a little video I'm going to queue up. So this is just like part of the last competition here. So a couple of people will compete, they'll walk for the judges, and then in the front of the room, the panel of the judges are going to score them, who they like, they're pointing who they want to win. Okay, so this is scoring. Okay, so in the back. So, I just needed to show that they were very open. Okay, so I wanted to just talk about really how critical it is for, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, for the NA message to get out there, and part of this presentation is how do we impact ballroom. I actually sent out several emails. I've attended a couple of those virtual events. I sent emails out to many of those providers that also, you know, they have the same challenges everywhere else. They've got homelessness. They've got, you know, some of these other things, but it's actually very important to be aware of this community. And the last slide I'm going to show you, you know, Narcotics Anonymous all over the world, and I think there are going to be some other events going forward. People were very excited. You know, NA Pride, you know, you can recognize a picture of Eddie there on the left. She sent me her personal picture of Pride in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, but these are all the Narcotics Anonymous booths. This one comes from Central Ohio on the top right. That's their Pride information there. I think that may be, I'm not sure if that's a Narcan kit in there, but, you know, that's from Central Ohio. These are also from the other Pride events that went on. This one, so, you know, some of them got cut off a little bit. This is the NA Anino event. And then this one, I think there's one from Minnesota. So you know, I think our time is winding down, but Eddie, if you want to just talk really like 30 seconds about Pride in Tel Aviv from NA. Oh. All right, I can't unmute. I can't unmute.
Hold on, Eddie. Nobody touch it. Are you able to accept it?
I
Yeah,
am.
thank you.
Thank you. Anyway, thanks, Willie. Let me see, June 8, 2018, I want to say, there was 250,000 people celebrating Gay Pride in Tel Aviv, and it was the 20th anniversary. NA was represented there. You know, to muddle through that many people, it was kind of hard to start taking videos and pictures, but I need to say that that community, I attend NA meetings regularly in Tel Aviv, and they are in the bomb shelters because they're no longer being used for the war. And I have an amazing family there, and they are very accepting of our community as a whole. And we were, families would come out, I mean, with their carriages, their babies, their extended families. So it was a great place to be, and they had all kinds of booths, Wilvina, representing all, many different organizations, but they are extremely gay friendly and definitely advocate for Narcotics Anonymous.
Yeah.
Narcotics Anonymous.
And in New York City area, and really every area, there are so many opportunities. I know that the Latex Ball, if anyone has ever heard of that, I've been there several times. There's thousands of people there. Narcotics Anonymous, hopefully we'll have a table at the next event for that. You know, obviously it's too late to do Pride, but Pride here in New York, I think they start 6 months early, registering for floats and so forth. People put the flag on the car, and they also have booths at different points.
Okay, is it me? Oh, no.
So that really, I want to just challenge everyone on here that's involved in Narcotics Anonymous. Public information and informing the public.
Did I lose y'all?
No. There are a plethora of opportunities for outreach to the community to be done. And it's really, especially in this virtual community, I also do have a virtual meeting list that is created. It needs to just get a few last updates on it. But these are virtual LGBT meetings that meet 7 days a week. There's trans meetings, there's meetings for you know, lesbian, non-binary, all days of the week, and at least one 24-hour meeting. So, you know, the bottom line is that when it comes to service, when it comes to public information, there's a lot of work for all of us to be done moving forward. So I want to also just say, Alexandra over in Paris, amazing for getting that community started. You know, everyone else, and I'm hoping that this event inspires everyone to really understand that, you know, this community has charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, and that needs to be applied in all aspects of our lives and in any service. So thank you so much, everyone.